Have you ever wondered how to create a non-standard or a custom view on your drawing inside of Fusion? Well, let me show you how. So there might be times in your drawing where you want to have a slightly different view than your standard isometric, like you see here in this view. For example, let me go ahead and delete that. If I were to create a base view here, you can see the orientation is front. You can see we have these, southwest, southeast, northeast, and northwest isometrics. And you're kind of locked into, let me make this a little bit larger. Let's do 1 to 8 so you can kind of see the previews here. So this is like looking kind of up underneath. I'll do southeast. Again, it's kind of looking up underneath. And then we have northeast, which is kind of your standard isometric view. And then we have northwest, which is kind of, again, looking down from the top from a different orientation. And you're kind of limited to those 4 different orientations. Now, what if you wanted something a little bit different? So that's where this week's tip really comes into play. So I'm going to jump over into my 3D model. And you can see here over in the browser, we have a folder called Named Views. And if I expand that open, you can see the default top, front, right, and home. And if I click on these, you can see it animates between these different views. Well, you can also create your own custom named views just by right mouse clicking on the named views folder. You can see the new named view command. So what I can do is I can get my view kind of the orientation the way I want. So let's just say maybe something like that. I'll right mouse click and say new named view. And it just captured not only the view orientation, but the camera, how far it's zoomed in, for example. I can go ahead and give this a name. So let's just call this, new ISO. And what this does is, for example, if I go to top and then I click on new ISO, it's going to animate to my new ISO. So here's the regular isometric, and then here's my new one. I can even like zoom in to a particular area. So let's say we wanted to focus on this area here. I'll go ahead and right mouse click and say new named view. And let's just give this a name called close-up. And now if I click on new ISO, you can see it animates back to my new ISO. If I click on close-up, it's going to animate to this close-up. So this is actually a cool way. You can even use this for doing like presentations of your design. You could have a bunch of different named views and you could focus on key areas of your design. So you could have, for example, this be, the start of your design, and then you want to talk about a different area. You could click on that and it zooms up on that particular area. And you could be talking about, the features of this particular region, and you could continue through with these different named views. Let's go ahead and create another isometric, maybe something kind of like this. I'll go ahead and say new named view. I'll name that other ISO. And now I do need to save this file to save these changes. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, say OK. And then I'll jump back over to my drawing. You'll notice I get a warning saying changes have been made. That's because I've updated the 3D model. So I'm going to go ahead and click this little icon right here, and that's going to update it to use the version 7 of the chop saw stand. So now what I can do, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this view, and when I create a new base view, I'll go ahead and select, let's just do 1 to 10 in this example. But now when I click on this orientation front, you'll notice we have new views in here. So I have this new ISO, the close-up, and this other ISO. So let's do this new ISO, and you can see the orientation is now not just that regular isometric. So I'm going to go ahead and set the settings the way I want them to be. I'll say OK. And we now have a view that I think looks a little bit nicer than the standard isometric. Okay, so I'm going to create another sheet just to show you the other views. I'll go ahead and do this again. I'll say 1 to 10. Let's do the close-up. Now the close-up, it is going to do all, the whole design, the whole model, for example. So you're going to see all of the model here when I do that. Let me go ahead and move that over. I'll do another base view, and let's do the other ISO just so we can kind of see what that looks like. Let's do a 1 to 8 in this case and make it shaded. I'll say OK, and we get that isometric view like so. So the really quick and easy way to create your custom isometric style views. Now I'm going to show a bonus tip. Maybe I want to focus on a particular area like this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and delete this view. Typically, you would have to create a detail view and draw like a circle like so. And then you could specify the scale. So let's go ahead and set this to be like 1 to 4. But then it keeps your original view, and then it shows the detail view over here. Which kind of makes the sheet kind of crowded. Now you could drag this off of your sheet and just have this on your single sheet, and that's what would print or whatever, but then you have this off to the side. So here's a neat little trick that I use sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and create my base view. I'll go ahead and use that other ISO just like I showed previously, and let's do a fairly large one. Let's do like 1 to 4 in this case. I'll say OK. It'll update the view. Now I want to focus on this key area, and there is a command in here called breakout section view. Now what this allows you to do is you select the view, and then you kind of draw a balloon like so. And then it slices into your design. And in this case, it went halfway through. So I'm going to make this number much smaller. Let's just say, like, for example, 6 inches. And you're going to see that it kind of slices into, basically 6 inches into the design. Well, we basically want to do the opposite of this. So I'm going to go ahead and start over. I'm going to say breakout section view. And then I'm going to draw basically I want to get rid of everything outside. So I'm going to kind of start here, for example, and draw kind of around like so. And so you can kind of see how I'm basically leaving this area not in the balloon. So I'm going to hit the check box, and everything inside the balloon is eventually going to go away. Now, it looks kind of weird right now because it's basically just removing the middle. Basically it's going in 35 inches. Well, if we say cut all the way through like a really long distance, let's just say, for example, 100 inches, it's going to remove everything except for what was not included in that balloon. And you now see we have just left what was outside of the balloon. And you can kind of see as I get near this edge right here, you can see the original balloon. And I can even make changes. I could come in and drag that balloon like so, and it'll remove a little bit more of those extension arms. I can come in and make this even larger. We could probably get away with 1 to 2 now for the scale. And let's draw the tangent edges and make it shaded, for example. And now we're focusing just on this particular region of the whole assembly. So that's kind of a bonus tip for this week's video. So hopefully you learned something new with the named views. Not only can you use them for creating custom views in your drawings, but you can even use them for creating like presentations as you're walking through your design. So hopefully you found that video useful. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe and share it with others. If you want to learn how to create the chop sauce stand that I used in today's video, check out this playlist to learn how to create it. And as always, have fun learning Fusion. See you next time.